Previously on Love in the Crossfire. The Axeman had been seen in Lagos, flaunting his wealth in a market, to the shock of Nneoma's father. Meanwhile, miles away, Emeka came back into the room as he tried to comfort Nneoma by letting her know all would be well. As they discussed the notebook's contents, they were jolted back to the present by someone turning the knob. Suddenly, they exchanged worried glances as their eyes briefly met before fear took over. The faint sound of footsteps fades, but Emeka checks anyways. He insists they leave immediately and head to a family member's home in Bayelsa State for safety. He assures her it's only a 2 to 3 hour bus ride. Nneoma thinks back to when they first met, and he took her on a danfo for a cultural experience. She found the bus overcrowded and slightly unsafe. However, he tells her this bus is much better. The next day, the two sit in the room. Although she never really looked at the notebook in detail, she glances through it. A name stands out. It says, Debts and Money Owed, and at the top, it says, Iron Rose. Immediately, Nneoma flashes back to when she was a child. Her mother used to take her to girls' night out, and they often referred to her mother as Iron Rose. As a young girl, Nneoma never understood why, and her mother insisted she never tell her dad about the nickname, saying it was just a special name her friends gave her. Meanwhile, the two hitmen meet. One expresses frustration with Nneoma's father's recklessness, calling him clueless about the realities of survival in Nigeria. The other agrees, saying Nneoma's father truly believed he could fly from Ebonyi State to Akwa Ibom State, without realizing there were no commercial flights. He also had no clue that the original hitmen left the job and handed it off to them. At this point, they agree to abandon the job, feeling that Nneoma's father was putting them at too much risk. Back at Emeka and Nneoma's home, a boy yells aggressively at a girl, accusing her of stealing his akara. The girl, having had enough, points at the boy, telling him to shut up since he took her puff-puff. The two engage in a pointing match. Oddly, a few hours later, Nneoma and Emeka mimic the same behavior, although her anger is a combination of the moving and her mother. She raises her voice at Emeka. Emeka, fed up, raises his voice too. The next day they glance at each other as a way of showing compassion. Soon after, they walk toward the bus, the mood much lighter. Before boarding the bus, Nneoma tells Emeka she needs to use the restroom, though it's just an excuse. She tries calling her mother, but there's no answer. Out of nowhere, she flashes back to a conversation she had with Emeka, where he told her his father had been involved in the corruption with her dad. Yet, nowhere in the notebook was his father's name mentioned. And at first, Emeka told her his father was dead, but now alive. They finally board the bus, and Nneoma rests her head on the bar, lost in thought. On the other side, Nneoma's father calls the two hitmen, but their number is no longer working. Then he calls the two men who arranged the oil smuggling deal in Akwa Ibom State. He explains the situation about his daughter and asks for a few more days to complete the job. One of the men tells him that's his problem, adding that the job is already getting messed up as one of the workers spilled some of the oil. Nneoma's father explains he had given the two men a large sum of naira. They tell him, so what? After the call, one of the men tells the other it's time to take the money and move on. As the bus continues, Nneoma's father speaks to the man next to him. Without giving details, he asks for a better understanding of how long the trips might be from Ebonyi State to Rivers State, Rivers State back to Ebonyi State, Ebonyi State to Akwa Ibom State, and finally Akwa Ibom State back to Ebonyi State. The man explains Nneoma's father has gotten himself into long rides. He then breaks down what the times might look like. Ebonyi State to Rivers State, 7 to 9 hours. Rivers State to Ebonyi State, 7 to 9 hours. Ebonyi State to Akwa Ibom State, 7 to 10 hours. Akwa Ibom State back to Ebonyi State, 7 to 10 hours, a total of 28 to 38 hours in bus rides. However, Nneoma's father tells him that, according to Google, the total travel time is around 16 hours. The man laughs and tells Nneoma's father this must be his first time in Nigeria because, while Google might be right, factors such as road conditions, traffic congestion, frequent stops, bus speed, and weather all play a role. "There's Google Maps versus reality," the man says. At this point, Nneoma's father pulls out an aspirin and a bottle of water.